Hey guys, we have another episode of Noteworthy. Just real quickly, it's going to be a short episode. But what I really wanted to do is, everything that we do within the blockchain technology, within REVO Ride, within everything, all revolves around technology. And so I think it's really important for you to see, within our realm, within our company, who's behind the scenes running those type of things. But more importantly, on a bigger scale, is like I just have an immense respect for people that understand technology. I was one of those people. I grew up, with parents that were very. My dad was a computer genius. He used to build computers when he was little, but I didn't. I didn't get any of that. So I'm very interested in that type of thing. And I didn't even kind of tell James what we were doing today. I just kind of threw him into this. But James is my partner. He's the CTO of REVO Ride. He does so many different things, but I really just want to kind of interview him and get his, background. And so here we go. James DeVries. He's our CTO and our developer. So tell me, like, your background. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised near Chicago, a small little town in northwest Indiana called DeMott, Indiana. But
So you grew up there. Were you always interested in technology, or is it like
no,
how did you
actually,
get into that?
it wasn't. It was mostly I was brought up in a fashion retail type background, so it was
Like
mostly,
your whole family was into that?
Yeah, we owned
They
a
owned
bunch of
businesses?
children clothing stores.
So
Yeah.
so then you went. What were you like when you were a kid? Like
Just traditional. I mean, interested in a lot of things, sports and all types of activities but computers were back in the day, I don't know.
back in the day, like what is that?
Well, I mean, if you go back back in the Commodore 64 or VIC 20 or
Like
even,
what years though? 80s?
oh, you're talking,
Like
yeah,
that when you were, because you and I kind of the same age.
yeah,
Like high
definitely.
school. When did you graduate high school?
88,
88.
yeah.
So I was 89. So that was kind of like you and I are lucky. We're kind of in like the fact that we remember what it was like to not have cell phones, but we also know what it's like to be where we're at now and appreciate it, I think, a little bit more. So
Yeah.
how did that progression? Like you were into sports. Were you a great student? Were you one of those?
Yeah, I was good in math. Loved the
So that
challenge
kind of
it.
stuff, like
Yeah, just love solving things, and I think just having technology and being able to have access to it was probably my primary things that I was probably blessed with, because of the nature of the business. We wanted to use computers for the kids' clothing store, so we started buying some PCs.
So you kind of had to learn it, like almost not forced, but it was a necessity.
Yeah.
To learn how to do it.
And then going through college, shifted my major from fashion marketing and merchandising to computer science, and never looked back.
Well, computer science, like what did that entail? Was that all about like, because computer science to me almost sounds like some, I don't know, some bad scientist in it.
Yeah.
But was it mainly computer programming?
Well,
Or how did you get into
well,
it?
back then, a lot of the things that you were taught in schools, you weren't really applying in the real life because it was so moving fast. Whatever they were teaching, there were more principles than anything else. So, but common knowledge, the latest advancements in computer languages or techniques.
Like I remember, was there
just
ever a
could not-
language called Cobalt?
Yeah, Cobalt was.
Like
That's
that
what
was
they were
one of the
teaching us.
Oh, really?
And
Because I remember
we
my
could apply
dad used to
that.
program in that.
Yeah, I mean, it
and
was
basic and those type of things. And
Yep. And
so-
then after that, the industry wanted more what we call 3GL languages or 4GL languages, where accelerated speed of development. So as the maturity of the market, where rather than having to go learning Fortran or assembly code, which required a lot of knowledge, it you'd have more of a verbose language where you would tell it what it to do, like, hey, compute 5 to 10 and then equals that, and do loops and things of that nature. So it's a lot easier now. And then obviously with the maturity of the languages, it's getting broader with other
So like when
applications.
I'm always fascinated. I watched my dad do this stuff, but I never really understood it. He had his own computer room, and he would sit there for hours. Like, did you learn that way?
I did
like,
exact same
how do you
thing.
learn a language? Like, I know how you learn a language when it comes to, well, I don't know how to. I've seen it done. Like when you have like Spanish, you understand it because it's like, all right, well, if I say this is a hat, and
Yeah.
then you have a language for it. Like, what is it when you learn a language when it comes to development and software?
Yeah.
For someone that doesn't understand it, like, how do you explain that?
The biggest thing for me was you keep practicing, and then you.
But is it
I'm
certain
the-
characters? Is it certain ways that you have to type certain things? If it said if it does this, then it'll.
Yeah,
do that.
I mean, it's you think of your how you think, and you just translate it into how a computer needs to be instructed to operate and making those decisions. So you can automate.
So
things.
like a computer is like a little kid, like a toddler almost. Like it's got its own language. You got to learn how to talk to that kid.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to motivate the kid. You got to learn how to get it. So you have to. So how do like is there a set script? Is it a language? Like you have to learn that language?
Well, yeah, because every language has a dialect of how you need to express what you want it to do. So there's, for the people that are in this kind of industry, you heard of Java, you heard of C or C sharp, or with some of the Apple languages like Swift, and then you get into more of the server-side languages where you build APIs would be either Java or PHP or Ruby or there's a slew of languages that.
So how many languages do you know?
Well, I mean, through my career, it's probably I'm just taking the top of my head, probably around 10, just because
Different computer languages because you have to.
because of the different applications that you're building for. So back in the day, if you build for desktop, like on a PC, you're building for an application where you compile it, and then back in the day, if you remember, you take a CD, you put it in a machine, and you got to install it.
Right.
So that required the building and compiling software. So that required a different type of language and steps to go through that. But now everything is on the cloud. So you're building and compiling and then sending it to the cloud, and then that is a server that is actually
So
taking those instructions.
to be in this field that you're in, like you got to be able to adapt and change real.
100%.
Like, so
100%.
what was your next step? So you went to school, you did computer science.
Yeah. So after computer science, did your typical steps of going through, you're basically paying your dues. So I worked in the public sector for Palm Beach County Healthcare District in their
Doing what?
Doing programming. Did their for those that live in this area, did an application to maintain their Traumahawk aircraft operations. So in order to bill back to the insurance carriers, you had to go through certification and go through all this information capture.
So they would give you a problem, and then you had to figure out how to make computers talk to each other or whatever they
capture it and go through the events. So I had the opportunity to actually fly in a Traumahawk helicopter, so you can see what the medics go through to collect the information, and then what the pilots have to do to collect all their aircraft maintenance, to just a lot of information, because they have to report that to the FAA, and in order to get certified, that's what they have to meet to get that 135 certificate.
Oh my God! So how old were you when you were doing this?
So did that for a couple of years.
Like, was this in your early 20s? Like,
yeah, mid 20s, and then started doing more independent work, doing a lot of consulting around the world.
Like when you say consulting, like everybody, I love that word. Everybody uses the word consultant. Like, what does that mean? When you say consultant, I bet it's way more than just, hey, you should do this.
It's like
when you say consultant, it's like are you getting in there and doing the programming, doing
it
stuff?
varies. So it could be doing maybe some business applications that are very tailored to the business, to doing very specific security related tasks that are related to applications. So it varies based on the need, but the majority of it was consulting or assisting a customer on what specific type of application they need in their business, and then building and tailoring and molding the software so it would map to what they need to do.
So you've done that. So how did you get into building apps?
So again, through maturity of the in the development space, for that journey from doing desktop applications to server applications, where back in the 90s there was a lot of more momentum putting things on the web, and then mobile with people using devices now to get access to information and And
But there's a lot of people that get left behind. Like you've been able to.
oh, you have to keep up
Like
with the
you've been
times.
able to move from that to doing apps.
Yeah.
So is that a whole different world from doing what you did before?
You have to be agile and you have to adjust to what the market needs, and of course to keep your skills. For everyone, if you stay comfortable, you're going to get eaten alive because you can't be competitive and adapt to what the market needs. So with what's in my, I would say, DNA is just building something from the ground up and tailoring it for a business so you can really address the specific need of a business.
And so you were building apps, you were doing stuff, government stuff,
Mm-hmm.
different, all kinds of different things. Security is one of your
Mm-hmm.
big things, right?
Yep.
Like, how did you kind of go down that road to security?
So it kind of plays off of each other because a lot of apps need to have high security, and then whenever you see a news wire coming out that somebody got hacked or businesses maybe opened up a floodgate of information that they weren't aware that people were accessing, security becomes more of a prominent role in the consultancy. So you get into what's referred as access management, identity management, just allowing people who should have access to what, those kind of roles. And then pivoting into more app development, where the security ties into the app because a lot of information needs to be secured properly. So that's why the mobile apps is where I really enjoy my time the most. It just gives me a lot more gratification in terms of...
When you and I met, you had already built apps.
Yep.
You had been down the road where, like, James and I, if you come to know us, we have a fun relationship. But when I met James, I never wanted to meet a developer again in my whole life. And I'm probably sure he never wanted to meet an entrepreneur again in his whole life. Like, a friend of ours, Tammy, a great friend of ours both, introduced us. And I said, listen, I got to find a developer. I've been through so many. Like, a lot of them are overseas. They all promise you the world. They tell you they can do these things. And then you give them a bunch of money. It goes from being $20,000 a month for 6 months to $30,000 to $40,000 a month for 4 years. And you still don't have a product that works. I know some people over and over and over I've seen that happen with. And then I sat down with James and I showed him what we have going on with REVO and what we've done in the past with delivery and things of that nature. And, his comeback was, I've seen too many. Like, what was it? Like, you've seen too many people.
I mean, I had a stack of NDAs from prior opportunities, and I can't.
And some of them you tried to take advantage of, right? And what happened? Like, what was it that they couldn't deliver?
There was a lot of promises around the delivery of getting marketing or getting awareness of the application. So I did all the technical things and made sure things were correct and lined up to what we expect. But then it's a two-way street. We need people to see the application and be able to take value of the application. So we need marketing. And that's always been a gap for me on partnering with any type of opportunity. So that was
because so it's like the whole thing. If a tree falls in the wood and no one hears it, does it really make a sound?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with an app. You could have the best idea on the face of the earth, but if nobody ever sees it, nobody ever utilizes it, it doesn't matter. Like right now, we're in a space called, we're in the rideshare space. There's other companies that are bigger than us out there. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of companies that wouldn't do what you and I are doing. Yeah. They wouldn't go out and take it on. They wouldn't go, oh, we're going to go after these big guys. Mm-hmm. But what he and I have together that I think a lot of people don't is, and Tony, my other partners, and our ecosystem, and a lot of the people we have involved, is they understand we know how to build teams. We know how to build a community. We know how to get the word out here. I don't know if you've been impressed or
it's
from
incredible,
what we've done.
Incredible. It's the growth, how our trajectory is just literally just going right up. This month alone, we're 4 or 5x the number from last month, and it's going to compound. So I see that.
And have you ever had that before with any other projects?
Never. I mean, I'm more around.
So what did you find that those did? Because I like to know what other companies and other things did that we can avoid. Like what did some of those do? Like you would build the app, mm-hmm. You'd get it ready, they'd make all these promises, and then just on the backside they just wouldn't. They ran out of money.
They just wouldn't deliver. It was. I think there was overpromising. That I think they didn't have the proper budget because you do have to be smart around how you acquire customers or how you provide awareness. So I think they didn't have a clear plan.
Right.
In
And they hadn't
terms
done it before, probably.
Correct.
Like that's the one thing with what we've done. It's funny. I have a guy that was asking us about our rideshare. Well, listen, if I thought we were going to go up against these other companies money wise, I'd have never attempted it because there's no way. I can't outspend them. I'm not going to go get hundreds of millions of dollars in funds. I'm not going to do it that way. But I do know with Tony and with some of the things that we've done before, like some of the people that work with us, Darren Kidd, some of these other people, they built they built programs within the network marketing space. And I like that model. I like everything about it, except the fact that I didn't like it where there was a barrier to entry where somebody had to buy products or they had to do this. Like if it was a business that somebody could come in here and do, which somebody can come in and do rides. You see it every day. Yep. People are doing rides. On one of our blockchain groups today, I saw one of the drivers screenshot and put that he made showed his exact back office that he made $1,069, and the proof is in the pudding. And it's like when that kind of stuff starts happening without somebody having to go out and spend $5,000 or $1,000 or whatever, that's real business to me. And with what we're doing with the apps and giving, and we're always one thing I love about working with someone like James is, it doesn't matter if it's 11 o'clock at night, 2 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, he'll answer the phone. He'll work. And you can't find, in this industry, you don't find that, right?
No,
I mean, usually it's people, they work from here to here, and that's it.
Don't bother me. Yep.
And it's and you found a team, I think, that works more like you work, too.
Yeah.
How long is it taking you to formulate something like that?
See, that's another thing. I mean, working with my team, I have to build that trust. And so whenever I find opportunities to find new talent, I go through pretty much of a rigorous, what I would normally do if I was vetted out, to make sure that they are who they say they are, because that's the biggest thing.
Anybody can interview well.
Yeah. And so I go through a verification process to make sure that the quality of the work is good. And I actually read every line of code that my team builds, because I want to see that quality being instilled across all the products that we build.
So that's a good thing that you have going on too. A lot of them, if there's people that watching that maybe are going to start their own apps or do their own thing, what do you see the biggest problem is in this industry, when it comes to development? Is overpromising?
Overpromising, under delivering kind of thing. But the other part would be just having really good communication. I mean, I know it's probably a broken record, people saying that, but working with, I work with a variety of people from India, from the Ukraine, to people, everywhere. And it's no picking on one type of personality. It's just, you got to have communication and make it very transparent and making sure that you have a good collaboration routine. If you don't have that cadence, you're just...
and see, I think we've developed that probably quicker than I've ever developed it with anybody. Because when we're even working on now trying to make it so other projects don't have to go through the things that we've gone through.
Yeah.
We're working on a group with a group from Vegas on a project right now that they've even done the numbers out. They would have been spending $300,000 or $400,000. I don't look at what we're doing with them as it going to be a huge moneymaker up front. But I do believe that if we do the right thing by them and show them, hey, you don't have to spend all that to get what you really need, and we can make a shift and a change, maybe as time goes along, because I think a lot of developers aren't like you. A lot of developers are let me see how much I can get out of these people, because they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they do it on purpose, but I don't think they go out of their way to do the right thing.
Yeah. It's a spirit of the entrepreneurial spirit of things sometimes, where they're just looking for another paycheck. And so you have to really engage with someone that has the same drive, the same passion, and have that instilled as part of your partner.
Right.
Without that, you're just going to get another person that may not be all in.
So. Right, and that's what it is. With us, it's 100% all in everything we do. Well, tell me what, I want to end this. I don't want to go too much longer. I just wanted people to get a feeling, because a lot of people don't understand that side of the world either. Being around most developers scares me to death, because I'm oh, they're going to say smart shit I don't understand. But with James, when he says communication, he's one of the few. I mean, I almost call him the software whisperer because he is. Like, you can talk to real people,
Yeah.
and I can tell James, "Hey, I want this. I need this. I think it should like the," and he actually gets it. A lot of times when you work with developers, they'll all tell you yes,
Yeah.
but they really don't, or they won't take the time to go, "No, I don't understand that. What do you mean?"
Well,
James does that. Like,
I mean, think about it. When you go through all those layers of people, sometimes when you're in projects, you got the project manager, then you may have a lead developer, and then you actually have the person that's coding things. So all that transmission of communication gets lost in the shuffle, and then by the time it gets back to what needs to be done, it's like,
it's like that game, Whisper Down Lane or
Yeah,
Gossip.
yeah.
You tell
That's
something,
not-
it goes around the table,
right.
and it's messed
That's
up.
not what I really asked for. And so having closer ties to
How do you avoid that? Because you don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part where I think I put a little more emphasis is to really get closer to the business type of things or use cases, and then align it to.
So you understand it, what it needs to be, how it needs to work, before you ever even start that process.
Yeah. A lot of planning and making sure the communication, the flow, all those use cases are verified. And then once you got the design put together, then we can roll into action, and then we can be iterative. So we're not just going in a corner and building something and then making sure that we're crossing our fingers that this is what you wanted and this is how it should be developed. We're actually taking baby steps during the whole development process. So you're engaged, you're verifying, we pivot, we shift if there's little things. So we're not starting off from the ground up on something that we could have fixed earlier. So taking a lot of more of an agile method where you're taking more smaller accomplishments that maps into a broader.
And it all comes back, you said communication. Like, everything is that. If you can communicate in any business, in any relationship, it's all about communication. Let me ask you this, and we'll end with this. Like, we were going to build the app, REVO. We were just going to do it. Like, we started on it. The app was almost done. And then, Tony and some of the others came and started talking about blockchain technology and crypto. I didn't understand that. I knew you understood it more than I did. What has you the most excited about utilizing blockchain technology, REVO being a part of that? Like, what do you...
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is the whole transparency of being able to expand to the masses something that is such a good value for a day-to-day person, where somebody can go and get a ride and be able to tap on their phone, but then to be able to get rewarded on that and using the latest technologies in blockchain to benefit from that whole transparency.
From a security standpoint, that's probably big for you, right? Like having thousands of computers have to verify something as opposed to
just one central hub that's saying, hey, you're good to go or not. This is being distributed. That gives you a little bit more transparency around
and security, though, right? Like that's the one thing I really started understanding more and more of lately is when you've got a lot of computers, like even now, right, with REVO, we have some of our stuff centrally located on servers. Our goal is to move that out into the network. And like right now, if somebody hacks certain things, it could affect us, but we want to move that out and as quickly as
it's
we can.
Distributed, so your impact we isolate, and then you shut off, and then you
can utilize other computers.
Correct.
And is that what that's not how things are done overall nowadays, right?
No, not at all.
But do you think that that's where it's going as quick as possible?
Definitely. I mean, there's so much potential with our ability to take other industries and other verticals and be able to use blockchain as part of that.
Do you think the development world has pushed back against it?
Yeah, because because like anything new, people are like a little bit shy.
But could it also be like some of these big server farms or big companies or whatever are pushing back, and developers because that's job security is going away?
Well, also think of the big corporate giants out there where they want that centralized control. Obviously, our typical monetary policy where everything's controlled through a central banking system. So it's just a similar concept in the corporate world. So now we're distributing it for the masses to share, but be able to be transparent, but still have that security layer on top of that. So,
but do you think, just in your opinion, that's where everything will go sooner or later?
I think so. I really do. There's good momentum. I think there's a lot more. Things like what we're doing is kind of the pioneers, if you will, to to lead that charge. So I think this is going to be a good evidence of that.
Awesome. So I wanted James to come on just so those of you, I mean, I always like to learn from everyone, and I just think what he does is so, in a way that he does it. Like, I learned from my parent. My dad was a computer guy, but he could not talk to a human being to save his life. If I have a 15-minute conversation with him now, I feel like I've cracked the code because he's not that person. So to have someone like yourself that can know all that stuff, but also be able to bring both of those worlds together is phenomenal. I mean, James has so many people that come from other groups within our ecosystem and things that reach out to him. So, I mean, we're in the process of putting together, more and more to where we could bring in other companies and other businesses and other entrepreneurs. And they're going to pay money. It's going to cost. Anything you do is going to cost. But also we can, make it so that I think the call we had today was so exciting for me because there's people that were on that call that if you and I really, really wanted to, we could have said, you need to spend this amount of money, this time, and they've already done research online to see how much it would have cost, and they've already researched it could have cost them $300,000 to do it. And maybe we are doing it a little cheaper than we could have done it, but in the long run, I see that we're giving them an opportunity to do something. So people gave us opportunities.
Well, it's another thing that I looked at, and it's like this has legs. This has great potential.
Right.
And again, back to my whole gap in the past is we need the marketing side of it. So, which I have confidence that we can deliver on. So it's very exciting.
No, it's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any problems with your app ever, I'll give you James's home phone number, his address, and everything else. We'll see you next